All right. What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Welcome to the channel. Happy to be here today. This is Josh from KeepItTechie. Glad to see you guys in the building. Sorry about the no sound issue I just had a few seconds ago, but we should be rocking now. But I have a special guest in the building, engineering Cannabiz. He's actually been, you know, he's an engineer as well as he works in the IT field. You know what I'm saying? And he also is creating businesses or starting a business where he's in uh, working with AI as well as data science, artificial intelligence, basically. And so I thought he would be a cool guy to bring on, you know, just to get some information on from him, on how to actually get into these fields, as well as working in those type of positions as far as database administration, data science, and all that good stuff. And I'm a database administrator, and so kind of our jobs or work hand in hand together. Like he would
Yeah.
be developing, applications that digest or look at the data and pull different reports or learn from the data, and then I would be kind of like in charge of managing the back end of the server, making sure memory is set up and all that good stuff. So this should be a good tech talk. You know what I'm saying? We both kind of work hand in hand as far as positions goes. So I'm happy to introduce my friend Engineering Cannabis. How you doing, Engineering Cannabis?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me in your channel today.
Yeah, no problem, no problem, man. I'm glad you was able to, take a little time out to come hang with me and we can, talk about this. But I always like to start off by allowing my guests to kind of introduce themselves as well as give a little bit about your background. So go ahead, man.
Okay, so first things first, I'm a data scientist. So my day job is as a data scientist. I work for a national lab. So I'm a data scientist for that. And what I call my night job, or after I've done my day job, I basically utilize the skills I have in data science, AI, and blockchain, and developing solutions for the cannabis industry. So I basically solve problems where I automate systems, or I find predictive analysis, or I take they basically try to make sense of data itself. Also solve problems with quality issues with cannabis itself. So blockchain and all that. So these are some of the problems I try to solve with data science, AI, and blockchain. But again, on my day job, again, I'm a data scientist where I deal with big data and big data analysis, which I can't go in depth in my day job. But my night job, definitely I can go in depth in that. So again, my background started as I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering. I have a master's in civil engineering. I'm currently trying to finish my second master's in logistics and supply chain. Also trying to basically I was trying to start up my PhD in mathematics, but due to the coronavirus, I decided to hold up on that. But again, that's my background in terms of education. And I got into data science by basically, I was thrown into data science. I was working as a chemical engineer and doing process design, chemical analysis, and all that. Then the company I worked for decided, hey, I need you to make sense of some of these data we collected. And as I was making sense of it, they said, okay, why not start taking classes? Machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, trying to understand how this data is worked, and from there, understand how to basically make sense of our data and how to make use of our data and AI and all that. So once I finished with that, I knew basically how to do data science. Then I started applying to different jobs as a data scientist, which I've been working for 5 years, 6 years, and I've seen the role grow. That's what I'll say. The role has grown tremendously. There's a lack of data scientists in what I'm seeing now because I've seen a lot of jobs being offered. I get interviews from Italy, Germany to anywhere. I get interviews about data science. So there's a lot of job openings in the role of data science. But again, there's also a lot of misinformation about what data science and AI is. So right now, I probably will go into explaining what the AI part of it, data science is, and move and also talk about job prospects and all that in terms of data science and all that itself. But
Cool,
that's my background.
cool, man. I'm glad you was able to, let people know about that, man. But hey, one thing I wanted to ask you based on what you said was um well, never mind. I'll ask that later. So, but let's just roll into another question. But if someone, well, let's ask this. So you kind of fell into data science based on,
I fell into data based on my career. I came out of school as a chemical engineer, and I was going doing my process engineering. I was working for BMW and other manufacturing facilities.
yeah.
I was designing processes, designing chemicals. Then at one point, they said, okay, we have a lot of data we need to make sense of in order to improve the efficiency of our plant or
Mm-hmm.
improve the efficiency of our system or how to automate the system. We need you to look at all this data and try to make sense of it. Because I always loved data from get go. Because in grad school, I always played with mathematical models
Mm-hmm.
and I played with different models. And as a civil engineer, I was playing mathematical models and all that. So they said, since I had that background, why not make sense of it? So again, I took a lot of statistics, took a lot of linear algebra and all that. So okay, let me make sense of it. So I was making sense of it. They said, okay, we need you to learn more on all this aspect because it's a field that's coming up. So they started sending me to courses for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I went for machine learning, deep learning, and all that. And I saw that this area was so interesting that it was coming up and it was very interesting and you could do a lot. And what I found out was everybody always try to narrow what AI is. Trying basically in order to understand it, everybody's trying to narrow it down into automation, where the goal is just to automate a system. But what AI is beyond that. AI is not only automation, it's predictive analysis, it's pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just that. It's more than just a robot taking your job. It's efficiency. So when people start grouping AI as a robot basically trying to make a robot more human, you don't actually understand what AI is. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, the beginning, like the human body, the beginning, the building blocks of a human body is a cell. So currently, what we're doing right is the building blocks of data science and AI. We're in the beginning stages of data science and AI, where we're just learning how to basically use machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning to drive automated cars to make a prediction of weather, to make prediction of, for instance, your banking. If you have an alert that says there's an unusual amount of spending in your account, that is AI. That's an algorithm basically looking at your past history and pointing out there's an unusual spending, and it alerts you. That's an algorithm. That's an AI.
Mm-hmm.
So AI is basically it's fully embraced in the society already, but we just think of AI as an automated robot, but
Yeah,
AI is already in the system.
like that
Yeah,
movie I Robot.
robot. That's all we
Yeah.
think of. But AI is already in the system. If your credit cards, your credit score, it's an
Mm-hmm.
automated system. It's an algorithm. Um, Banking information. When you go into a banking, anything dealing with the banking, it's an algorithm. There's an algorithm. And when your child is going to school, there's an algorithm that takes your child's information and says this is the school that he or she needs to go to.
Yep.
When you're in court where they're taking a jury selection, there's an algorithm. So AI is already embedded into our system. But what people was look at AI as just a robot. But AI is, even in Tinder, that's an algorithm that runs it. That's
Yeah.
AI.
Yep.
So AI is already embedded in our system. The goal is to improve on it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what data science and is trying to gather more and more data to improve on it. Right now, a human being is a mathematical algorithm. And the goal is to each day he makes a decision and all that, we gather more and more data to improve that algorithm. That is what AI is. AI is not just a robot. AI is more than just having a robot replace your job. AI is, again, pattern recognition, predictive analysis. AI is still growing. We don't even know where this is going to, but you have to understand what is behind the AI, how to do it. Because right now, what I've been looking at in some of the panels and all, people don't actually understand what AI is. They don't understand how the complexities of AI. They don't understand what neural networking is. They don't understand
Mm-hmm.
the real complexities of AI and how it's still growing.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you're in the data science field and understand all this, what I just said, your goal is just to narrow AI into a robot. But AI is beyond that.
Okay, cool. Now, if let me ask you this: so, like, if someone, doesn't know any of this type of stuff, like, where do you think they should start as far as getting into AI, um, database science,
It's a-
or where do
there's
you
a-
think they should start?
so right now, because data science is now a huge industry and it's basically everybody's trying to get into it. I'm
Hmm.
seeing a lot of bullshit. Excuse my language.
No, no
I'm
problem.
seeing a lot of I'm seeing a lot of BS courses online. I'm seeing a lot of BS on a lot of stuff coming out that doesn't focus on. Right now, what they're doing is teaching you the tools of data science, and the tools are, again, how to utilize Python, how to use the algorithm, but they're not teaching you what you need to know about data science,
Hmm.
when to apply. When do you need to apply that machine learning algorithm? When do you need to apply data science? How to look at the whole process and say this is where you need to automate your system. But what people are now teaching you are just the tools.
Hmm.
Machine learning, deep learning, they're teaching you the tools, but they're not teaching you the exact information. So when I say if you want to learn if you want to learn data science and you want to learn AI, first start with what you're interested in. Because data science is part of there's no industry you can tell me, I'll tell you how data science is in it. It's every industry. So if you're interested in basketball, I say start with basketball and start on looking at how does data science fit into basketball. If you want to get into data science, because data science is it's it's a mixture of computer science, high mathematics as you
Hmm.
get bigger, and business domain knowledge. When I say domain knowledge, you have to understand, if you like basketball, you have to understand everything about basketball, the rules, everything. If you like trucking industry, understand what trucking industry is, and then if utilizing what you like, then start asking the question, how does data science fit into this? So, for instance, someone likes trucking. I say, okay, you like trucking. I'll ask you the simple questions. What are the biggest problems you have in the trucking industry? One of the biggest problems, one of the problems is employee retention. They can't find enough good employees. And mostly people go, okay, they're just going to automate the system. But no, that's not where you can go. You can say, okay, who are your best employees? Let me ask you, who are your best employees? Let me see the criteria that makes them their best employees. I want to see that data. That data that describes your best employees, I can use that and build an algorithm that identifies each time someone comes into your office, that algorithm identifies that individual as a good candidate to be a good employee to help your business grow. That is AI. That's not. I didn't automate the system. I just try to make the system better by identifying good qualified candidates by building an algorithm. I didn't automate the system. I just, again, created an algorithm to identify good employees. That is AI. And if you start from there and said, okay, this is how I can use data science to work better, then you start learning, okay, I need to start learning machine learning. Machine learning is the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Then okay, then you move into deep learning, and deep learning includes natural language processing. Natural language processing is what you see in Siri.
Mm-hmm.
Siri is natural language processing. That's data science.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that. That is data science. That's called natural language processing. Then you move to reinforcement learning. That's where you see automated cars. That's where, and it's called a Markov decision process. That's just reinforcement. There's Q learning in that. So a highly math intensive process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get into data science, what I'll say is find out what you're interested in. Then look at then from there say, okay, how can data science, how can data influence this this sector?
Mm-hmm.
Then you start learning the basics, basics machine learning, the tools. So I didn't tell you to go straight learning the tools. I told you straight to go learn the process you're interested in. Then learn how data science fits into those processes. Then start learning the tools. The tools come later. It's like telling someone who wants to be a carpenter just to take a hammer and just start nailing. That's a tool. He doesn't know what to do with the the hammer. He doesn't know where to hit the nail at. He doesn't know what wood. He doesn't know the measurements. So what people are doing right now, they're just giving you a hammer, but they're not giving you the skills to be a good carpenter. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to focus in. First, focus on what you're good at,
Mm-hmm.
what industry you want to focus in. If you want to, even YouTube, people who do YouTube, data scientists run YouTube.
Yep.
If I if I go in and say, okay, I need to build an algorithm that gives people what they want. What are they most likely to watch? I look at the past history and data, come up with an algorithm, and the algorithm, once someone who generates that content, that algorithm picks that person out and flashes that content everywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
that person is basically blows up. That's data science.
Yep. And you can actually connect to Google's API and
Yeah,
pull information directly from YouTube.
use YouTube
Yeah.
and get that information and say, okay, these are what people are basically generating towards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna build that algorithm to anybody who's gonna create content. That algorithm is gonna point that content out and flash it to everybody. That's data science.
Yeah. What
That
what
is
what about
AI.
in the medical field?
Oh, that's the best.
Because someone asked
Um,
about pharmacy. So
Pharmacy.
yeah, as
Ooh,
far as
pharmacy drug prescription. I'm working on cannabis prescription
oh
on
yeah,
concentration.
yep,
I'm working on cannabis concentration. How to determine physiology based on past data on physiology and cannabis concentration. How do I use data to basically make sure the right concentration is given to the right person with different physiology, different age group, and all that? With that data, trying to get the best cannabis concentration for that data.
yeah,
That's just one aspect. There
mm-hmm,
are a lot of aspects in medical with deep
yeah,
learning, taking pictures of, man, I can tell you I'll tell you one of the projects I was trying to work on. So currently in medical school, most medical books are shown to have skin diseases or skin irritation that only show white people, right?
mm-hmm,
Only white skin.
yeah,
Only Caucasian skin, most books, most medical textbooks, most everything only basically show that any skin irritation, any symptoms that occur in the skin, they only show white skin. They don't show black skin
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
So recently there was a student in England that created a book just for black skin
mm-hmm,
that shows. So what I wanted to do is I contacted the person and said, look, I like your concept. What I want to do is take your concept and I want to build an algorithm for that concept that identifies those skin problems, those skin diseases instantly by creating an algorithm for that.
Yeah.
And you can do that with CNN. So once I create that algorithm, I can share that. It's not only limited to people who can get the book. It's going to be able to go everywhere from the continent, from the African continent to America, to anybody who has. When you have a problem, a skin condition, this algorithm identifies it as this is your problem,
Hmm.
and these are just this is just one algorithm I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, and this is
So
gonna tie into. I mean, I know how a lot of clinics nowadays, they have that, how you sign in. It's no receptionist anymore. It's just,
yeah,
you just strictly just walk in, type in your information, and that'll set up
on
your set up for
all
to
your
go back with the doctor.
yes. So the goal is to keep your information again, big data, your information, your past history, all
Mm-hmm.
that, even your family past history can help quickly diagnose your problems without you even seeing a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where telehealth comes in, data science, your family history, all that can basically be created where I take your family history, your history, everything. And when you come in and say, I have a headache, based on all your family history, your drugs, and everything you've been taking, I can say, okay, this is your problem at this point. And that would be like, okay, after this, why not? Then I'll suggest you go to a hospital and test it. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving you a diagnosis based on an algorithm and
Mm-hmm.
based on your reports and history.
Yeah.
This is what's being designed
Yeah. Now let
for
me ask you
cancer.
this, and I'm
Go ahead.
sorry to cut you off. Like, what? Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted
No, no,
to.
please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the resources that you use to keep your skills, kind of current?
Again, if I'm passionate about this, I'm passionate about data science and AI and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So every day I read 4 days a week, 4 hours a week, 4 hours a day. I have, and I have I plan my schedule out. Each day I read a book, a chapter a day for each topic I'm looking into. So for instance, like Monday to Friday. On Monday I have reinforcement learning. I'm reading a chapter in my reinforcement book on Monday for 4 hours. I'm reading on Tuesday. I have deep learning. I'm reading a chapter in my book on deep learning. Wednesday, I'm reading machine learning, a chapter of book in my day on machine learning. Natural language processing, a chapter of book in my language. Thursday and Friday, I'm looking at blockchain. I keep and I also look at different papers, look at different research
Research
papers.
papers. Yeah.
I focus on research papers. I focus on new mathematical equations coming out. I keep my knowledge up by reading each day. I have a family and all that, so I don't have time to play around. And I
Mm-hmm.
also read on cannabis. I read the news on cannabis. I have books on cannabis. I have audio tapes on cannabis, on everything. So my day is packed with information being hijacked in my brain. If I'm not working during break, I have an audio tape playing. I'm reading. I'm trying to learn. I'm making sure I keep up with what's going on, and that's how I keep breath with every knowledge in terms of AI and algorithms and everything.
Yeah, and that's why.
Because
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
because again, it's independent. You can't depend on someone to teach you this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn all this. Even AWS. Again, if you're gonna ask something about Linux, AWS is built on Linux.
Yep.
Linux is for data science. Linux is the sweetest part of data science because it's free and it's the fastest to run deep learning languages.
Mm-hmm.
So Linux to me, to any data science you ask, they tell you Linux. I work on Windows too, but
Mm-hmm.
Linux is to me is the best for any data science. But I'm going too far. But
Nah, you fine.
again, it's learning, always learning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the kind of person who just stays idle by. There's always something to learn. There's always something new to come out. Again, data science is just in the infancy. It's the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to learn. You can't sit down and say, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to figure out I learn all this data science, and I go into the cannabis saying, okay, how can I apply this knowledge to this? What can I design to this? I have like on my board, I have like 50 ideas and 50 algorithms I'm designing. So these are the ways I keep a breath on what data science is. I'm always learning, always reading, always studying. I have books. I think I've almost half of the books in Amazon. I've bought most of the books on Amazon on
Mm.
data science, AI, blockchain, and I'm always studying. That's how I keep a breath on what in terms of AI. Because right now, again, there are courses that come out, but they're not as in depth as I want it to be. So again, you have to find it yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of push that, in all aspects of IT. So, I mean, you constantly have to be learning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because the technology is always moving forward, so you got to keep up. And
yeah,
with with that area of data science and AI, it's like you said, it's in its infancy stage. So, in order to get ahead of the curve on a lot of people, a lot of businesses, as well as getting into your own business, um it's best to constantly trying to upgrade your skills. So I
yeah.
definitely agree with you on that, but let me roll
Mm.
to the next thing. But
Okay.
do you think that people should go after degrees or certifications, or
Mm.
do you think they should go for both?
Mm. In terms of in terms of everything else,
Hmm.
yes, go for go for both. Everything else, go for both. But data science, that I have because data science is highly math intensive.
Yeah.
Okay, for instance, I'll say in most industry right now, most companies, they only use machine learning. They don't have a clue what to do with deep learning, natural language processing, all that. Most companies, 90% of the companies just use machine learning. And you can learn machine learning easily. So with that, with most companies, I'll say you just need at least a bachelor's and a good cert. Most companies have no clue what to do right now because
Hmm.
again, it's an infancy. Most companies have no clue what to do. So right now, I'll say if you want to go into understanding, if you want to go into understanding, go in a company where they pay you 160, 170, take have a cert and a bachelor's, a mixture of both,
Hmm.
and you get 170, 180,000 quick and easy.
Yeah.
You get that quick and easy. Learning machine learning and get a cert and a bachelor's. You can do that quick and easy. You're good to go. And at that point, you're a high value man. At that point,
I know, right? Now
I
let me
just
ask you this: what are what are some?
I just want to make that joke.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's being talked about in this space heavy, man.
Yeah, so I just
Yeah.
want to make that joke.
But what are some programming languages that are associated with data science, and um, that you think or that you recommend people should learn to get
So
into it?
I have I have a I have a background in a lot of computer. I have MATLAB, MATCAD, C++, JavaScript. I know a lot, but for this one, what I'll tell people is focus on Python. That's what I use all the time for
Mm-hmm.
blockchain and all my deep learning Python. I tell you, learn Python, you're good. Learn Python. I know Python and R and SQL, but learn Python and SQL, you're good. Learn it well,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not gonna be you'll be definitely good. Learn Python and SQL, and you're good to go. That is the one. Those are the ones I'll recommend in learning. Learn how to use Python because Python right now is adaptable in almost every industry. I have companies calling me, "Hey, I know you know how to use Python. Can you come?" I said, "Nah. Python is Python is where everybody's calling. Everybody's trying to clamor in Python, and that's how I write all my algorithms. That's how I write all my blockchain um, programming codes. So Python, R, and SQL. I say if you learn those three, you're good to go. It's not that difficult. It's it takes time, but again, for me to learn, it took me 2 years, a year, 2 years to learn it. But again, learn Python, learn SQL and R, and you're good to go with any AI job.
Mm-hmm.
With any AI job currently right now, because right now most companies again they just use machine learning.
Now let me
They
ask you
don't know how
this.
to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, what search do you recommend? I know that goes back to the last question I asked you, but
Mm,
do you recommend any search for data
no,
science or AI,
no,
like specific
no,
search?
no.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't any good search. Again, this is an incoming field. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to tell you right now. You go to any interview, they're not going to ask you about certs. I
Mm-hmm.
promise you. What they're going to ask you is, how do you random forest tree? How do you use decision tree? How do you decide when to use a linear equation? What program do you use? These are what they're going to ask you. They're not going to ask you a cert. I don't have a cert in data science.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't have one because again, it's a new industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the certs out there are just, again, it doesn't make sense. They will ask every interview I've gone, nobody has ever asked me what certs I have.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has ever asked me. Nobody. All I went in is they asked me, what algorithms do you use? If you want to run a facial recognition, what algorithm are you going to use? Convolutional neural networking. What These are what they ask you. They're not going to ask you where did you get your search from or how. Nah.
Mm-hmm.
In data science, they don't. This again, it's a new field that's coming up. What's important is what you know. It's not the certs you have. I promise you,
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about certs. I've interviewed a couple of people. I don't care about your certs. I just care about do you know what you're doing here?
Mm-hmm.
These are the few questions I'll ask you, and if you understand it, you're good to go. Certs are not needed at all, especially within the data science. Understanding how to do it, again, it takes time. It doesn't, I'm going to tell people it's not going to take you 6 months. Anybody tell you you're going to learn data science in 6 months, that person is bullshitting you.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot learn data science in 6 months, no matter what you do. The complexity, the mathematics behind it, it's something else. It's not a 6 month process to learn all the algorithms within, nah. Even machine learning, it's not 6 months. They might rush you in, but nah, you're not gonna learn it in 6 months. You're gonna. I read it every day, 4 hours a day, and I'm still learning. So you're not gonna learn everything in 6 months.
I got you. Yeah. So, um, pretty much you kind of answered, all my questions. Well, I wanted to ask a little bit more
Go ahead.
on Linux or whatever, so
Yes.
do you know of any, because I've looked at a few of like artificial intelligence open source projects that are out there, like
Hmm.
I've read about deep learning for Java. I don't know, do you have any
Yes.
experience with any of
Deep learning. That's deep learning is my forte. That's basically, for instance, if I wanted to create an algorithm that looks for you is for KeepItTechie in every social media, I'll run your facial recognition into I create an algorithm using deep learning
hmm
called convolutionary neural network. I
okay.
run it, I get an algorithm, and I can search your whole picture throughout every social media database and find your picture based on what it is.
hmm
So in terms of Linux, Linux is powerful because one, in terms of deep learning, it's the fastest.
hmm
There's a lot of processing speed to run a deep learning algorithm,
yeah.
and Linux is the fastest and it's free compared to Windows. Windows will break down and sometimes you get mad, but Linux works perfectly, and it's also When you're transferring your algorithm to the cloud, it's easier to use Linux to transfer it because the Linux system is basically utilizing the cloud system. So the
Mm-hmm.
adaptability between Linux in the cloud and your Linux system, it's perfect to run any data science algorithm, especially with deep learning. So Linux is a powerful system in terms of, again, I utilize cloud, and even though I use Docker system and Dockerize something, but the cloud, to place
Mm-hmm.
my algorithm in the cloud, Linux is, especially run deep learning. Run machine learning, you can run it on Windows, but deep learning, anybody who runs deep learning runs it on Linux because Linux has good processor speed and adaptability to the cloud. Those two alone makes Linux the most powerful tool for data science, especially with deep learning.
Yeah, and that's why I push it so much, because
Yeah.
like especially in the black community, what I'm saying, it's a lot of people that don't really know what Linux is or know how it can
Mm.
actually help you and know how you can
And it's free.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
free.
it's free.
It's free.
You can take a older computer that you get off Craigslist
Mm.
for $40 or so, install Linux on it, and it'll run like a brand new computer. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because it revitalizes older systems. So I try to
Yeah.
that's why I try to push it, you know what I'm saying? And I try to go hop through the manosphere or whatever. It's just to kind of help other young black people understand that Linux
Yeah.
is something that they
Linux
need
is,
to learn. You know?
and they have so many libraries. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Linux is, again, in an operating system compared to Windows. Don't get me wrong, I love Windows too, but in terms of utilizing data science,
Mm-hmm.
Linux is the way to go in any way you can go. And especially if you're looking at trying to open a business or start a business, Linux
Mm-hmm.
is where to go, 100%.
Yep.
So again, when you started looking at Linux, I said, okay, he knows what he's looking at. Linux is a powerful tool, open source, free. You can't beat that.
Yep.
So I'm Linux is because, again, to run a Windows, the hardware is expensive. It's just ridiculous. But for Linux, free, it's not compatible. Man, no, Linux is something else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But let me ask you a couple questions that came
Sure.
through um throughout the video. So, someone stated AI can be racist or misinformed depending on the data feeding it. What What are your thoughts on that issue?
There's a problem. Don't get me wrong. There is a problem. The
Mm-hmm.
problem, but that's the thing. We think of AI as something stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
but AI isn't stagnant. AI is ever learning. So right now there is a problem. AI can't identify people of color precisely.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, what is being done now is trying to widen the space and trying to widen the space in terms of data collection. In order to defeat, in order to, in, well, I always say people, and especially within the manosphere, we have so many assumptions on AI where we don't actually have a quite understanding of what AI is. AI is not a stagnant entity. AI is ever learning. The more data you feed on it, the more it learns, the more it adapts. That is AI. AI, it's taking the information and learning from that information. But we've taken AI as being something stagnant. It makes mistakes. Yes, it will make mistakes, but that's how it learns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what AI is. That's what we're feeding it information to learn to make it better, to be
Mm-hmm.
better. That's why when people talk of automated trucks, I'm laughing because with the sensors in there, the sensors and the learning capability in there, it's more effective than a human being. It has a 360 view of everything going into its place. We don't have that as a human being. It has a learning capability to learn at a high processing speed. This is what AI is. AI is not stagnant. AI is ever learning. And individuals, we've also narrowed AI, especially in the manosphere. I was looking at Bernard Wiley's channel today. It was
Mm-hmm.
funny. AI, everybody's basically put a narrowed AI into a mechanism that just takes our job, something a robot that takes our job. But AI is beyond that. Again, AI is predictive analysis. AI is pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. So if I want to track somebody, if I want to say I want to get somebody, if I want to track somebody for 24 hours, I want to know where the person is every 24 hours. This is how AI works. This is how it works in China. It doesn't work here because we don't have that accessibility. So
Mm-hmm.
first thing is first. For instance, I'm going to use you, KeepItTechie. If I want to track your every move in 24 hours, this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to look at your information, your credit card statement information, and your Uber and Lyft information. Your credit card information, I'm going to get your fuel, where you fuel, all your fuel, and where you do your fuel and your gas and all that. I'm also going to take information on your Amazon where you buy your Amazon purchases. At that point, I already know the area you stay. I can calculate that. I already
Mm-hmm.
know. I already know your address at that point. So I already know all that. So I have an area, the area where you likely visit, because now I have your fuel information. I have your Uber Eats, your Uber, and all that. So I know where you stay and the vicinity you go around. So I have an area where you stay. So if I want to track you, keep you taking on a daily basis. So YouTube, you've already given me every information for free in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice recognition, I run it through CNN, a convolutional neural network. I get an algorithm that recognizes your voice. That's easy. I can do that. I use Docker and put that Dockerize that algorithm. I already have that. Your face, I already have that on YouTube. I get 1,000. I can just crop 1,000 pictures from your face from YouTube. Put in a convolutional neural network. Get the algorithm. Put in a Docker. I already have the algorithm. I can identify your face and identify your voice. So now I know the area you stay. So I know. Now, remember, I took from your information, your credit card and everything. So I know the area you stay. So every that area you stay, every ATM, every gas station that has pictures and all that, every every camera, every I can just load my algorithm, every camera, every spot that's in that area. So anytime you just pass and you say one word and shows your face, it just already pings you. So I already know where you are at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That is the power of AI, and that's the power of
Now,
data science.
now, based on that scenario,
So
is that
it's been done in China. It's
no,
doing done in China.
no?
You know that, right?
Oh, I know. And the
And I just
reason,
gave you how to do it, and I
no,
can do. You can.
and I'm bringing it up because doesn't this tie into the whole privacy aspect?
That's why
That
it's
the
yeah, private.
government is actually pretty much doing on all of us here in the
Yeah.
U.S. If people don't know that, that's what the NSA is doing at this moment. Tracking
So
pretty much
so the
everything we do.
question so the question is, if you know, everybody talks of tracking, but if you know they're tracking you, your goal to understand why how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't you be saying, okay, what are the algorithms they're using? What features are they using? How can I beat that algorithm? But people are not looking at that. People are looking at, oh, it's tracking. But your goal is
Mm-hmm.
at this point learning how it works. And that's what I did.
Yeah, and that's
I
why
learned
yeah, and
how it worked.
that's another reason I try to push Linux as well.
Yeah.
Because
Linux.
by understanding that someone can do that to you, or someone may be doing that to you currently,
Mhm.
there are options out there to help you prevent that. It's just people don't take the time to learn it. You know what I'm saying? That can help you at least not fully get rid of the tracking, because you'll never get rid of it. It's tied into
Yeah.
everything.
But you can
But
beat it.
yeah, you
If you
can.
know the features, you can beat it. You
Yeah,
If you tell me how I track, if someone say I can track you, I tell you I can beat that algorithm. I'll tell you what features it. Give me that algorithm and I'll beat it, and you will never track me again because I know what it is. So the question is, why aren't people learning it? Why aren't people focusing it? I can run that algorithm Linux quickly. Linux can help me run all those algorithms I just told you, and you can learn it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's not difficult to learn all these algorithms. You just understand the math behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
So,
oh, go ahead.
so it's why people just try to pigeonhole what AI is when AI is vast.
Mm-hmm.
AI is beyond. I'm just gonna create a robot that's gonna take your job. AI is vast.
Yep.
AI AI is ever learning. AI is teaching. You teaching you teaching it. In some of the movies you've watched, this movie called The Irishman in Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the movies were based on AI, deep learning, taking facial recognition and putting in. So that movie alone was an AI based movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was cause I follow one of those big YouTubers and you probably heard of him. Everybody's heard of him. Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, a while back he did a video where he was basically saying that we all eventually are going to die, at some point. So what would happen to his channel after when that happens? So he did a whole video where
yeah.
he showed how they created a fake
Uh,
video or a fake Linus.
mhm.
They took his basically all that stuff you were saying about taking the
Yeah.
voice
Was
patterns, um,
yeah.
and just put a different
Facial
guy that was
recognition.
the facial recognition and taking
Deep
pictures of him and
Yeah.
putting it all together to make his mouth move like when he's actually saying the words and I don't know, just putting his
Yeah.
face on
Oh yeah.
another person's body. So
Yeah. That's deep learning.
yeah.
Taking yeah. That's not difficult. You can. It can be done. It's not difficult. This is not theoretical.
Hmm.
But what I've seen in the manosphere is we've narrowed it down so much that we're trying to take something so complex and trying to make it seem just taking it as if it's a robot that's taking our job. AI is more than that.
Hmm.
AI has AI is a learning entity. IBM Watson, IBM Watson, one of the biggest computer that beat a championship chess player. It's
Hmm.
still learning. That's just one aspect. There are a lot of there are a lot of ways we can basically train AI, and that's reinforcement learning, and that's just one part of it. And it's right now we've not we're just in the tip of it. We've not really hit what AI can do.
Yeah.
And what I just told you about tracking, that's just the easy part.
Hmm.
And again, that explanation, that was an easy part. That was easy. You can once you, That's why I always say when companies come out and say, hey, they hacked our if credit card companies say they come in and say they hacked our system and they took credit card information out, don't worry about that. You can go change. That's not what to worry about. What to worry about is when they say they hacked our system and they took information about people's location, and that's when you start getting scared because that is more dangerous than your credit card information. Your credit card information you can change, but your location, your habits, your patterns, that is difficult. So that is where AI comes in. So when people say, "Hey, they hacked our system and they took credit card numbers and all that," I'm like, "Okay, I just change it." But when they say, "Hey, they took information, location information, did all that, they hacked Uber, they took location information, all that," worry.
Hmm.
That is where dangerous is. That is where the danger comes in. Not your credit card. Your credit card number can change. Change the first three numbers and you're good to go. But when they take information on where your location is, how you move, that is where problem comes in. So AI is beyond, again, someone just taking your job. AI is already already with us every day of our life.
Mm-hmm.
When you activate your phone to tell your bank when you have a transaction coming in, they should inform you. That is AI. That's an algorithm. When there's an unusual spending in your bank account and they alert you, that's an algorithm. That's AI. It's already embedded in us, and we slowly accepting it, but we're slowly not understanding what we're accepting. I'm Don't get me wrong. I'm a proponent of AI. I love AI. I know, but I'm a proponent of understanding what AI is. That is the goal. Understand it. Don't just accept it. Read about it. Understand it. Understand what's going on. Understand how it works. I just gave you a quick scenario. There are a lot of scenarios going on.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna open up even further once they figure out quantum computing as well. And I know
That's
that's
yeah.
going down a whole nother rabbit
It's
hole.
going on around it. Don't get me wrong. I can talk about a lot,
Oh
but I
yeah,
promise you, you don't want to go there.
yeah,
So I just gave you a small snippet on how to track somebody quickly in 24 hours using
yeah.
quick information a hacker can take in.
Mm-hmm.
That's just easy.
Yeah,
So
but
imagine what you can do with. I was trying to say when they say big data, big information is powerful. I just gave you just one instance of how powerful it is.
mm-hmm. Now let me ask you this right fast. Um, trying to see who that was. Someone basically asked what flavor of Linux. Oh, Q497. He asked what flavor of Linux do you use or have you used in the past. So you
I
want to
use
answer
every I
all of
use
them?
every Linux, all of
Yeah,
them.
they pretty much all
As
the
long as
same.
yeah, as long as it's free and
Mm-hmm.
it runs fast, and I'm good. My algorithm runs fast.
Mm-hmm.
I use every flavor of it because again, Linux is a powerful open source tool and it's free again because
Yeah,
you
but
can't be free.
the answer a little better if you trying to get into data science, like well, or any aspect of IT. The as far as Linux goes, Red Hat is the industry standard, so you can actually use CentOS or
Yeah,
Fedora. They pretty much
but
close to Red Hat as far
yeah, but
as the
yeah,
repositories and everything.
as long as I don't focus on mostly the operating system. I focus on the algorithm,
Mm-hmm.
how fast processing speed my algorithm runs. As long Red Hat or Fedora, as long as it runs fast with those, I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Got you.
So I don't just focus, but I know Linux is way to go. But that's it.
Yep. So but I appreciate you, coming on engineering cannabis. We're gonna have to have another talk and everything. Um,
I
so
didn't
we
even
can get a
talk about
little.
blockchain.
Yeah, I know we didn't even get into that part of it, but yeah, I'm
We
running
just
short
got
on
yeah,
time today. So,
no problem.
but yeah, we can have another live stream, and we could just go into blockchain because I'm still learning that as well. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
fully understand that part of it. But let me shout out these people that gave donations. But Don Gordito, thank you for the $2 super chat. Mike Shinnery, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Chico MBA, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you guys and for coming through and supporting, the channel. I definitely appreciate it. But I also stuck Engineering Cannabis's link to his channel down in the chat. But I'll put it down in the comment. Well, in the description of the video as well, so you can get it, or get to his channel from there. But yeah, you guys check out his channel, man. He talks about, based on what I've seen, because I've been subscribed for a while, but based on what I've seen, he's basically, trying to get this cannabis business AI, business. Well, let me let you say it. He's
So what I
following his
focus on
journey.
is what I
Mm-hmm.
focus on is what I know. So basically, again, data science and blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a lot of problems with the cannabis industry, quality issues, regulations, and all that. So what I do is utilize what I know, again, blockchain to solve and AI to solve most of these problems. I can design algorithms, I can design ways to even to automate the whole system to run without. a human interaction for prevention of diseases or anything in the cannabis space, or quality control. So the goal is to design systems and design automated systems and also design solutions for big problems in the cannabis space using technology.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cannabis space, but there are a lot of problems in terms of it, especially with racial problems. There's not a lot of African Americans or Black people in cannabis industry. Um, Problems with monetary. The you in order to even get a grow or get a dispensary, you gotta have millions of dollars. So it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than focusing on all that, I said, let me focus on what I know and apply it to the cannabis industry. And I know tech.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna use what I know to apply to cannabis, and that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm but I'm also studying every part. But in order to utilize tech, you have to understand the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm studying everything, the laws. I have stacks of laws and about the cannabis, from Canada law, Canadian laws, to Chicago, to Denver, all state laws I have there. I'm reading that. I understand all the laws, all the processes, all the federal laws with the CBD and all that. DA currently got a CBD ruling about hemp that's just destroying the hemp law. So I'm learning and reading everything to understand the power of knowledge in the cannabis industry is far, far more important. So I'm learning the laws and learning everything about the cannabis industry. Then I'm utilizing what I know, the knowledge of tech, and applying it to solve problems in the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So that's
Cool.
what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you guys check him out, man. And
Yeah, just call me
check out
back
his channel.
again. We'll
Yeah.
finish. We'll finish the other ones.
Yeah.
We'll finish the other ones. No
Yeah,
problem.
cause I try to keep it to an hour or whatever, cause I
No
gotta,
problem.
yeah, gotta do things with the
Just call
family
me
on
up.
Saturdays and
No, I understand.
yeah.
Just call me up anytime.
Mhm.
We can go more in depth in blockchain,
Mhm.
and when I say blockchain, I'm not talking about crypto. People think of crypto, but I'm saying there's more to blockchain than crypto. There's more money in blockchain. Crypto is just the beginning. So again, there's a lot of information, a lot of good tech out there. So study and read, and you'll be good to go.
Mhm. Exactly. So I appreciate you guys for coming through and hanging with us. If you catching a restream, man, I appreciate you as well. So thank you again, Engineering Cannabis. Like I said, I'm gonna email you. We're gonna set something up, but uh if you guys got any questions, just hit up Engineering Cannabis from his channel. I'm pretty sure he has his email. Or if you want to post your email in the chat, you know what I'm saying?
My
Uh,
email's in the channel. It'll be all
okay.
right.
Okay, cool, cool. So I definitely appreciate you guys again, but keep it techie, guys.